Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Rip N Riff here on the Rip N Riff Twitter and Facebook network. YouTube currently down live. We'll get this up there later. We'll attempt to go live mid-show on YouTube. Right now, just Twitter and Facebook. He is at Mr. Jared Moore. I am Mr. At Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. And it's going to be an all hockey edition today because Saturday is National Hockey Card Day, according to Upper Deck. And listen, it's a good day to do it. Last Saturday, the regular season before the playoffs as well. It's nice, you can kind of pencil it in on that every year. But how you doing, Jared?
I like that. It's National Hockey Day, Hockey Trading Card Day, according to Upper Deck. That's like saying it's Valentine's Day, according to Hallmark.
Yes, it's their own holiday, or it's National Eat Chicken Day, courtesy of El Pollo Loco, which is delicious. Like if there's any, we talked about San Francisco Bay Coffee in the past in season 1. Screw them. El Pollo Loco, I am available just for food. Send me chicken.
Yeah, I mean, chicken's always good stuff. We don't get a lot of new fast food places here, but we're about to get a Popeyes like right down the street from me, which is fascinating and dangerous.
So the apartment I lived in Brooklyn for 10 years, maybe about 2/3 of the way into that tenure, a Popeyes open around the corner, and I really thought that was going to be dangerous for me, but I showed pretty good restraint. I didn't go nearly as much as I might have thought. I mean, those biscuits, man. Oh, in the chicken, too.
The biscuits are good.
That's neither here nor there. Now it's lunchtime for me, and I don't eat till we're done. So, we got to curtail this conversation right now because I'm getting starving. But it's National Hockey Card Day. But, I mean, we always kick every episode off of Rip N Riff with a new segment we like to call Rip N Rant. So why don't we get that going here? It's time to kick things off on Rip N Riff with
my Rip N Rant.
Thanks, Dave. All right, so in the theme of all hockey today, we are going to continue with that. And Jared, I'm going to give you the floor first.
All right, well, I'm going to steal this one from you because you mentioned it yesterday when we were talking before the show about the San Jose Sharks and their fan base and them being upset about Tomas Hertl, who was traded at the trade deadline, longtime franchise center. Arguably the best player left on the team since they've been in the midst of this rebuild, and now he is a member of the much hated Vegas Golden Knights. And I know you wanted to rant about this because you're almost like, well, you're on two different spectrums of your timeline. Who cares? That sort of thing. But I don't know enough about the Sharks fan base to know who their biggest rivals are, who they consider to be their biggest rivals. I would guess it's the LA Kings and
the Golden Knights, and Knights. Recently too.
Right. So I could totally understand where their fan base is coming from, like being upset that, the one of their favorite players is now no longer on the Sharks and playing for, your quote unquote rival.
And I understood the reaction then. It's a friend of all, one of your top franchise players. He's not in the Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, Yevgeny Nabokov tier, but he's in that tier below that for sure. Yeah, I understand trading him to a rival is going to be bitter feelings and stuff like that. And then with Hertl making his debut for Vegas, all this kind of got drudged back up again. That's why we're talking about, a trade from almost a month ago. But, and I get it. Again, he's a franchise, a fan favorite and all that. You hate to see him go to a rival. But like you alluded to earlier, like the Vegas Golden Knights are trying to compete for the cup now. San Jose Sharks aren't competing for a cup till probably 2026, 2027 at the absolute earliest.
Oh, they're not. Let's be real. They're not competing for a cup anytime soon.
I'm trying to be optimistic here for them, the fan base, and I get it. I was at Game 6 when Vegas eliminated the Sharks in their first year of existence when the Sharks failed to show up for that elimination game. I understand, but sometimes you just got to take the best deal that's on the table, and sometimes you have to do business with somebody that's less than savory. And if they were at this, if the Sharks are right in the mix with Vegas for like the division and then the potentially the cup, I get it. We're not helping each other out. Go kick rocks. But who cares what Vegas? I understand that you don't want to see your rival succeed, but it's no skin off the Sharks' back either way right now. It's not like they're in any sort of competitive way there.
Yeah, my whole thing is I feel like that trade was just unnecessary from a Sharks perspective. You're not going to be any good for the next couple of years anyways. Having Tomas Hertl on your books and giving the Sharks fans a reason to come out to the arena and watch an otherwise dreadful hockey team, aside from, they're going to have a high pick this year. They have some, interesting young players with like William Eklund and
Will Smith at Boston College right now, Frozen Four.
Will Smith. They got a couple interesting players that they got back in the Timo Meyer trade last year in Muka. I can't pronounce.
Well, you know who you're talking
the
about.
defenseman. Shakir and Zetterlund, who's a fun player. So you got to give the fans a reason to spend their hard-earned money to make the trip out there. I mean, it's the only NHL team in that whole San Francisco Silicon Valley area, and you're competing for entertainment dollars with other people. I just felt like the entire move was unnecessary, and like the real final kick in the gonads was just you had to trade him to the Sharks. You couldn't have traded him to, I don't know, the Minnesota Wild or
somebody out east, where it's like, okay, I'm going to see
out
east
here. Yeah, you couldn't have traded him to the Ottawa Senators or the Buffalo Sabres or some team where it's like, all right, we got rid of the guy, but at least like we only going to see him once a year, and he'll come back, he'll get a hero's welcome for the rest of his life. No, you had to trade him to.
Not.
Yeah, well now, and it's not even his fault. Like, I mean,
I guess it too. People want to get pissed.
Yeah, he had the no trade, right?
He has to okay it. So like,
but like everybody's going to sign off
it
to go to Vegas. So, okay. Like, I totally understand that, but like we were talking on the air before that, this would be like if the Devils, if they had let's say they didn't make the playoffs last year, they're still in this long run of just being terrible. The Dougie Hamilton season-ending injury happens, but he's going to be back for the playoffs. And then the Devils are like, you know what? We want out of this contract, and they trade him with the Rangers. That to me is like what would be the equivalent of that. And like I'd be really upset if they had done that.
I get it. Maybe the return wasn't as high as maybe you were hoping. Although that David Edstrom could be he's a nice prospect. Maybe they'll see him next year. And at the end of the day, the big infighting between the Sharks fan base is the people that don't want to see them be this terrible, and then the people who are like, okay, we're bottoming out for the hope of being like a Avalanche or a Tampa Bay Lightning, more of the past few years, where you're competitive and a cup favorite every year in and year out. So that all comes from a good place because both sides come from a place of caring. Now, to transition to my Rip and Rant topic, a pathetic fan base. And it's not, and I understand there are passionate fans out there, but the Arizona Coyotes, yesterday, the mayor of Scottsdale came out and pretty much said like, hey, if you're going to put a brand new arena here, we don't have the water infrastructure in place to handle an arena. It'll take away from the residential pressure or whatever, how it works. I'm not a plumbing expert, but bottom line is if you're going to put an arena here, you got to figure out another source for the water. It can't be off of their line. So
right, they don't have the public works infrastructure there between like the water and the sewage lines for a project on that scale. Because it wasn't just the arena. Like I saw that big presentation the team had last week. You're talking about like a luxury apartments, bars, and entertainment complex, a movie theater, and all this other office space and all this other crap that nobody really needs. So.
But I mean, this is not a new issue. The Coyotes have had arena issues since they moved to Glendale and they realized, oh, we moved to a place in town where nobody wants to go on a Tuesday night after work. Not that it's bad. It's just the commute. They don't want to drive there. You've had arena issues and you mean to tell me something like water, which you need to live and run any event, you didn't bother looking into that site that you're going to put an auction on in June and hopefully win, and you didn't think, oh, we got to pipe water in there. How are we going to? You just assumed that you were going to tap onto the you didn't do your due diligence. Like what? Come on, you should be good at this by now. And now today it's like, oh, the Coyotes are releasing. There's going to be a schedule release for them playing in Arizona, and there's going to be a schedule release for that potential Salt Lake City relocation, whether that's temporary or permanent. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, the NHLPA doesn't want the players to continue playing seasons in Arizona because everybody's losing money. Like that affects escrow, and that affects, ultimately it affects the salary cap, which is something every player cares about because every player thinks when the salary cap increases, they're going to get that piece of the pie. But yeah, the entire thing's a mess. And this is an organization that already has a long history of not paying their bills. Like they weren't paying rent when they were at the old place in Glendale. So, yeah, the entire thing's a mess. And the funniest part about this entire thing was, I don't know if you saw the Elliot Friedman thing where They would let the Utah Jazz owner like own the team if they moved to Utah, but Morello would be first in line for Arizona if they ever get another expansion team. It's like I'm the entire thing's a freaking mess, and like Arizona probably should have an NHL team. You know, it's a market that probably could work, but they don't want the Coyotes. Like, this is an inept franchise, and I'm trying to even think of like just comically inept franchises on this scale to where like the local markets like we want nothing to do with you. Like even like inept franchises like you know, historically inept franchises, the Clippers, the New York Mets, the Detroit Lions, even they haven't gotten to the part where you're like, yeah, you could leave town, we don't care.
The problem is if you put them in Phoenix, in downtown Phoenix, because Phoenix is a big market, people will go because you are in the city. You'll go after work. You'll make plans around it the way you would in any city. But you put the arena on an outskirts, and now people don't want to go, and that's been the problem. And everywhere they want to go, it's either no good for this reason or that reason, and it's embarrassing. And it's like you keep trying to shove this square peg in the round hole in Arizona. And I know people are tired of hearing about Quebec, but you absolutely have a passionate fan base there with a brand new arena that not brand new, but opened up within the last 10 years. You got Houston, which is a huge market, ready to take a team. When the Rockets changed ownership, the new owner was like, yeah, I would absolutely would be interested in, acquiring a team and playing them in the Toyota Center. The previous owner did not want to do a shared building kind of deal. So it's just, why are we like, it's clearly
and they don't want to do that in Phoenix, correct? With I forget who the owner is of the Suns now, but he doesn't want to do this share.
He doesn't want to do it. And the building also has a similar situation that the Islanders dealt with Barclays, where it's not it's optimized for basketball, which obviously takes away. So
good. That worked out really well for the Islanders.
Yeah, but you know what? They got their arena, they got a home, and you know what? They ended up exactly where they should be, on the Queens-Nassau border. So good for them. And it worked out. Now Arizona, we're going to see if Salt Lake City's temporary or permanent or what. But I mean, man, if Salt Lake City gets an NHL franchise permanently like that, there's definitely some things that need to be investigated. If that's all it took, like, come on now. So there you go. There's our Rip and Rant for this week. We always enjoy doing that here on R&R. I think it's time we get to today's pack ripping lineup. And like we said, it's all hockey today, and including the starting lineup figure 5 later. But here's what we got on coming up today. Jared, what do you got?
So we're going to finish the box of Metal Universe packs that we did last week. So still hoping to get one of those rookie cards there. We got a couple nice rookies last week with Lundell from the Panthers and Alexander Holtz. So hopefully, we get like the Quentin Byfield or the Zegras, or who was the
Mason McTavish was another one.
Who was the number 1 pick the Byfield year? I don't even remember.
I don't even remember either. Quentin.
That was 2018. Was that Owen? That wasn't that far.
It might have been the
was it Owen Power?
Let's see. Who was the 2020 entry draft? That was the Lafreniere year. That was the.
Yeah. So that's right. So maybe we'll get Lafreniere. Who knows?
Maybe. Now, for me, I know it's Upper Deck National Hockey Card Day, but so we're going to do a little bit of Upper Deck when we go back to 1991 with my favorite set of all time. This is probably my favorite junk wax era of any sport, and one of my favorite sets of all time. Just the look of those Upper Deck cards. Got Teemu Selanne, Dominik Hasek, Nikola Lidstrom, just name a few rookies there. Of course, the young guns we like there. And then we go to 2010-11 Pinnacle, a 40-card super value hanger pack there. And we're going to go cup chasing later. So maybe we get that Taylor Hall rookie, and maybe you'll be interested in it if we pull it out of the Pinnacle pack. So there you go.
Maybe the only Hart Trophy winner in Devils history. So I think without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to jump the line here.
I think let's go backwards chronologically. Yeah, you go first.
All right. So we are going to try not to damage these cards because I did a really poor job of pre-ripping them. But we got them out of the pack here, all nice and secure. And we start with a couple future Hall of Famers here. First, I should probably thank you for bringing up the East Coast Rip and Riff cam. But we start off with Evgeny Malkin, who apparently is not a top 100 player of all time in the NHL, according to that list that came out with a few years ago. But Hall of Famer in his own right. And the Penguins are probably going to claim one of the final playoff spots in the Eastern Conference, which has been an absolute dumpster fire to see.
It absolutely has been, and he's been heating up, though. I mean, he hasn't had the best season, but he's come on the last couple of weeks.
Yep. So we go right from him to another Hall of Famer, Patrick Kane.
The Red Wings, man. I mean, you could make the same argument for everybody in that cluster mess in the East right now. But I mean, if they could just win a few in a row, they close with a home and home against Montreal. That is big.
Yep. And we go right from that to another really interesting card here. Here's our insert card, a little Sidney Crosby amped up card.
I mean, this is a pretty stacked pack here. You got 3 Hall of Famers out of the gate.
Yeah, 3 Hall of Famers. Well, we're gonna follow that right up with a guy who's not going to the Hall of Fame. With all due respect, one of the I think it's, for lack of a better term, failed prospects with the San Jose Sharks. We got Ryan Merkley here.
Yeah, a little bit of yeah, that didn't pan out, but that's a nice card though. It's a nice prospects card. Somebody who collects Merkley would want that.
Yep, nice card there. Jake Gensel, we got him a regular base card of him in the last pack, but now we have that little blue variant.
The blue parallel variant.
Yep.
What'd you buy this shop from a card shop in Pittsburgh?
I guess. This pack has been a very Penguins heavy pack. Yanni Gourde from the Seattle Kraken.
I mean, I'm expecting like a Ben Roethlisberger card to come out at some point at this rate.
Maybe Yanni Gourde's from Pittsburgh. We just don't know it. And last but not least in this pack, one of the best young defensemen in the league in Rasmus Dahlin.
Yes, he is. And, the Sabres, they were supposed to be that team that they finished strong last year, and people like, oh, look out for the Sabres this year. I was guilty of that too. Not so much this year, but I think after they made the trade with Middlestat and Byram and stuff like that, I think the Sabres might be ready to get into that wild card mix next year.
Yep. So we are going to rip this other pack right here and get these cards out. We got them out successfully. We just talked about the Arizona Coyotes, so we could start here with Clayton Keller.
Well, easily the top player on that team right now. I know they got like some promising players like Logan Cooley and stuff like that, but Clayton Keller's the guy. Matthias Michelli too.
We have a player who was traded at the trade deadline for a first-round pick for some reason, Sean Monahan, here pictured with the Calgary Flames.
Great fit for Winnipeg. Absolutely somebody Montreal needed to move. How they got a first-round pick for him. I mean, he's had a very good year, and I guess Winnipeg wanted to jump the market because, centers start to dry up, but still.
All right, so my one complaint with this box, and we'll get into this because I'm going to save some of these other cards for the end, is there's been a lot of repeat players. We saw that with Gensel, and I have a few more in this pack who are repeats from earlier. We'll jump to the rookie in the pack, David Ferentz from the Nashville Predators. Don't really know a lot about this player, so
don't know a lot about him either.
We got our blue parallel here with Ryan O'Reilly here with the St. Louis Blues.
Which, by the way, I mean, just a fantastic jersey there, that throwback look.
Yeah, great jersey and great player. And I didn't realize that O'Reilly was having as good of a year as he was. The other player I didn't realize he was having as good a year as he was, just because I bring this up because the Devils played them the other night. Did you know Gustav Nyquist has like 70-something points?
I do, because in one of my fantasy, like, he was one of those guys that he's always like on the waiver wire, and you think about picking him up, and I'm talking about earlier this year, and then finally, like, I'm like, all right, fine, I need a right wing. And like I was like, wow, he like gets like an assist a game almost at that rate, and
it's insane. And
I've had him ever since on any league I've kept him. There's no way I've dropped him.
Yeah, like their top line's loaded, but like he's a guy I thought was I don't want to say washed, but I would say that he's a guy I thought was pre-washed, like jeans, and he's had a very nice bounce back season. Who knows? Maybe getting out of Columbus was the best thing for him.
I mean, you pulled O'Reilly before that too. He had the game tying goal last night against Winnipeg before Winnipeg won in overtime.
Igor Shesterkin. If the Rangers are going to wind up winning the Stanley Cup this year, he'll be a big part of the reason why.
I'm curious what the Ranger season looks like if Jonathan Quick doesn't carry the load while Shesterkin was, figuring it out and a little bumpy this year.
I mean, they're probably still a playoff team just because,
but it's probably the Hurricanes won them too, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's enough of a bump to knock them out of the playoffs. Or if Jonathan Quick was, who's the guy he had last year who wasn't any good? Halak. If he was playing like that, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. And I mean, I can't believe Quick had as good a year as he did. So Noah Hanifin, a repeat from one of the previous packs in this box. So it's not that we're upset to get Noah Hanifin, but we mentioned that him being a repeat, and we also get a repeat here of the Alex Holtz rookie card. Except this one is the blue one. In fact, I have the other one right here, so I can show the difference between the two. Literally the same
Alex
pose
Holtz last week. If you want to go back and watch that, the clip's up too.
Yeah, but literally the same card. It's just, well, this one's the blue variant one. So overall, pretty good box. I mean, solid players here. I can't really complain about the rookies that we got. I mean, when Alex Holtz is putting up 70 points a year next year playing on the Boston Bruins, I'll feel really good about having a couple pieces of Alex Holtz.
Maybe Alex Holtz is this generation's Gustav Nyquist.
Perhaps. I just assume the Devils are going to trade him in whatever goalie trade they wind up making. So I assume, like, Alex Holtz, you are a Nashville Predator, my friend.
You're going there for Saros. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Just accept.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, like, are you going for Jacob Markstrom or are you going for Linus Ullmark? That's basically where I am with him at this point. Now, for what it's worth, I think they're wrong in their assessment that he kind of sucks as a player, but my opinion doesn't matter. Like, they seem to think he sucks, so they seem to think he can't play. So I don't know what to say. So if you don't think he can play, then you may as well just freaking trade him.
And the best thing that could happen for Nashville, and not a good thing for New Jersey, is how deep Nashville goes in the playoffs, because they're not going to keep Saros. They got Oscarov waiting in the wings. So, like, he's got, the only thing that UC Saros can do at this point is increase his draft stock. And, whoever Nashville plays in the first round, whether that's, Dallas or whoever wins the Central, but it looks like Dallas right now, or Vancouver, or if Edmonton maybe snipes the Central away from them, like, they're going to have problems with that Nashville. I'm not saying Nashville's going to upset, but that's going to be a longer series than people want.
Yep. Well, that's it for me, buddy.
So that box, what would you give that box a letter grade overall?
Solid B. Like a
solid
B. Yeah, we didn't really get any of the top rookies. We got a lot of Alexander Holtz and David Ferentz and Lundell's fine. Like, that's not a bad one to get. So
that was good.
It's a mixed bag.
We shift to the West Coast Rip Cam now, and we're going to go through a couple of packs here. So first up, we'll slide it under the camera, a 40 card value pack, Pinnacle 2010-11. Ooh, with Pavel Datsyuk, the Magic Man, on the wrapper there. And that Jack Clark card is there just as a placeholder.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Who could forget Jack Clark?
Now, we talked about we talked about a team, the Coyotes, that have issues with their home situation. Let's throw it back to the Atlanta Thrashers, Nick Antropov.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Atlanta there with all the potential expansion teams, because that sounds like one that actually might get off the ground with Anson Carter and the group he's putting together, trying to get that arena built in Alpharetta. So we shall see.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, and it looks like they actually would have an ownership group this time that might get it done, unlike the previous two, Atlanta.
Yeah, it helps when you have an ownership group that gives a shit.
That's important when you're trying to launch a sports franchise in a major city. We got Paul Stastny there from the picture with the Avalanche. He's had a nice career overall, bouncing around, being a quality center. Now,
yeah, Paul Stastny played a lot of years. Obviously, the son of Hall of Famer Peter Stastny, and overall, very solid player. I believe he just retired, so you're not getting a last card there for Mr. Paul Stastny, but overall, pretty good career.
Now, speaking of somebody who did just officially retire, Mr. Wayne Simmons.
Yeah, how about that? Wayne Simmons with the LA Kings jerseys. I like that card. I'm not sure who he's pictured with there, and I'm not sure what he's looking at, but
is that a young Drew Doughty? That might be a young Drew Doughty.
Is that Drew Doughty? Yeah, it's tough to recognize Drew Doughty because he has all his teeth.
And also, he's clean shaven there, which might be a good 10+ years since he's been clean shaven. So there you go, a young Drew Doughty, a baby face Drew Doughty. That's what you're getting on Rip N Riff here. All right, so we got Eric Stahl, one of the all-time great Stahl brothers.
Yeah, much better than Jared Stahl.
Now, we talked about Gustav Nyquist before. Maybe the Gustav Nyquist of the previous decade, Louis Eriksson.
Yeah, that's probably a decent way to describe them.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, yeah, I mean, they both had long, productive careers, though. I mean, you need guys like that in your lineup.
All right, we'll go. We got a few good ones coming up here. So we got Nathan Gerby there, which whatever, it's fine. He was a good little winger during his time, literally a little winger.
Yeah, I was going to say
Hobby,
keyword little.
Nikolai Hobby Bulin.
Played
Love the Bulin wall.
Played forever in the league. I believe he's still playing overseas as well.
He's one of those guys. Like these old Russians can play till like their legs won't let them play anymore, and they're still like better than half the world. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, he's like Yager. He's never going to retire. I'm gonna look it up right now and see where he's actually playing, because I'm like 99% sure he's actually playing somewhere.
Now we got Corey Crawford from the Blackhawks. So I always felt the Blackhawks fan base, were quick to bail on him at times. But overall, the guy was behind you for a couple of Stanley Cups. So, good stuff there.
Devil's legend, Corey Crawford.
Absolutely, Devil's legend. Ryan McCabe, good defenseman in his era. See here, we got our first insert or set here. We got Bob Kelly from the Tough Times series of the Philadelphia Flyers. Shout out Rob Pepitone. Man, can we talk about the Flyers for a second? You talk about a season. I mean, the loss to Columbus on Saturday, 6-2, where only defensemen scored for the Blue Jackets. That right there told you the season's over. Like,
yeah, and if that didn't tell you the season was over, giving up 9 goals to the Montreal Canadiens last night certainly did. I don't know where you are on Torts. I know some people are trying to dance on his grave here. I don't think it's Torts' fault. I think Torts did what he could to squeeze every point out of that roster. Look, Sam Ericsson's basically been an 870 goalie since Carter Hart took his leave of absence for very obvious reasons. So I don't think you can pin this one on Tortorella.
No, I agree. I think the season, the Flyers, and we talked about this on Total Hockey Now yesterday. The Flyers were that team that they were in the 3 spot in the Metro all year, and you're like, how are the Flyers in the 3 spot? And then finally, when we started to accept, like, all right, the Flyers are a legitimate, team that's going to go to the playoffs. The Carter Hart thing happens, and it just becomes a tailspin for them, and they've just never been able to be consistent and gain traction since then. So, and especially with the way Hart was playing too, like Hart was having a very good season, and then to just have that yanked away, obviously for the reasons that it had to happen, but for the rest of the team, not so good. And here you're seeing what's happening here down the stretch, where you have teams like the Penguins and Islanders, who we kind of left for dead 2 weeks ago, are very alive. We got Danny Heatley pictured in my all-time favorite Sharks jersey. That is my favorite. I know the teal is, but that's my Sharks jersey right
By
there.
the way, I don't want to forget it. So Hobby Bulin, he signed with a KHL team earlier this year at the age of 50, but he has actually not played for them, and he has not played since 2013-14 when he was with the Blackhawks.
Hey. We got Sean O'Donnell pictured with the Flyers there, former defenseman. And then speaking of like low-tier defenseman, but that's a great shot. Michael Del Zotto right there. That is a great picture.
Great shot of Michael Del Zotto not sliding into Lisa Ann's DMs. Good for him.
Good for him.
We got, now, look, don't blame him for shooting a shot, but he got put on blast for that, and rightfully so.
You're out of your league there, buddy. You're hunting. You're trying to fight up a few weight classes there. We got Daniel Sedin, Hall of Famer there. That's also a great action shot. Let's see here. We got Dan Ellis, career backup goaltender. Hey,
can we go back to Sedin for a second? Because I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Are the Sedin brothers first ballot Hall of Famers if they're not brothers? And they're not twins, and they didn't play on the same team for the
I don't think the Sedin brothers are the Sedin brothers without each other. I think you're asking something that, like, they made each other. I mean, they were. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, maybe. We've never really seen them play without each other outside of like injuries and stuff, because they had played together. They had to be drafted together, all that shit. So I don't know. Henrik, maybe not Daniel. It would be my guess there, because I mean, Henrik, I feel like with his skill set, you could put him next to any quality winger and they're going to be fine. So we'll see. Now, this is a guy we'd love to get on the show if he's ever watching. Shout out Biznasty 2.0 there, Paul Bissonnette.
Yeah, that might be us punching above our weight grade a little bit.
Correct. Speaking of Canucks legends, Mr. Roberto Luongo.
Very weird player in that he is a legitimate Vancouver Canucks legend, also a legitimate Florida Panthers legend. So
Yes.
there's not a lot of players out there who you could say uh, are the greatest player in franchise history at that position for multiple teams. But he is certainly in the conversation for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he had both careers with Vancouver and with Florida. Let's go. We got Simone Gagne there, brother of Eric Gagne as well. And we're going to close this pack strong here. We got Alexei Kovalev pictured with the Senators there. And you're one of your favorite all-time players in a shot, Martin Brodeur.
Oh yeah. How about that? Yeah, that's nice nice picture of Marty. It looks like he's since his foot's still in the crease, it looks like he's trying to shoot for the empty net. So
It does have that look, yeah.
yeah, I doubt this is one of the 3 career goals that he scored in his career, especially since only one of them he actually shot into the net, and that was the playoff game in '97 or '98 against Montreal. But yeah, very nice to see. And not pictured there the Marty Zoid.
Yeah, not pictured the Marty Zoid. Yeah, you know you're a good player when they have to put rules in to kind of slow you down specifically.
Right. And now that Marty's been retired for a decade, he's how do I put this delicately? He's enjoyed a meal or two in retirement. He's not coming back to play. Like I feel like it's time to get rid of the Marty Zoid.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. If you want to increase, I mean, goalies can't handle the puck though. Because they can't. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think you'd have okay scoring. Second half of the value pack, Ryan Smith there, an all-time winger for both the Oilers and the Kings.
Never liked that he spelled Smith with a Y. That always bothered me.
And it's not pronounced Smythe. Got
right.
Curtis Foster there.
How do you have a Y and no E?
Smith. We got Derek Roy, who was a good center in his time. Good like second, third line kind of guy. Let's see here. Cam Ward won Stanley Cup his first season with the Hurricanes back in 2005. That was a long time ago. Wingers, good. Speaking of good wingers, James Neal.
Yeah, James Neal was really good until he wasn't. That's probably the best way to describe him. But
we got Chris Mason, who I believe is doing Predators games now. Career, sometimes starter, sometimes backup.
Looks really annoyed in that picture there.
Yeah, it looks like he maybe just gave one up because his defenseman got caught pinching or something like that. Speaking of centers in the Derek Roy class, is Sean Harkoff there. Let's see. I had Tim Connolly, Tom Wandell. We're going to go through some of these guys quicker. Ooh, we have our first insert here. And it's going to be the only one for the pack, it looks like, is Mike Richards for Team Pinnacle. Look at that little hologram there. Camera's not doing it any favors, but we'll kind of move it around a little. That's cool.
That is a very cool card. Yeah, Mike Richards, obviously a big part of the LA Kings championship teams as well.
Let's see here. We got Martin Biron, picture with the Rangers there. Speaking of Tomas Hertl, his legend kind of began, if you remember.
Shout out to Marty Baron there, by the way, is doing what he's doing there. Obviously, it's after a hat trick. It's after a hat trick. He's pushing all the hats into one area so one of the arena workers can come out and get them. Classic guy, Marty Baron.
So that was their 85th anniversary year because you could see the patch on the shoulder. So that might have been that was after Yager left. So I don't know who would have had a hat trick back then. Maybe that was a Gaborik hat trick. Who knows? Guy who's getting close to the end here, TJ Oshie.
Yeah, he is very much getting close to the end, but long career there.
Talked about the Sedin twins before, former line mate of theirs, Mason Raymond. Let's see here. We got Max Talbot, who is like, the glue guy on those Penguins teams, the first, go around for Crosby. Let's see here. We got Shea Weber pictured with the Predators. You forget about that. Look at those old Predator jerseys there.
I love those jerseys.
Let's see here.
I mean, they're not as good as the inaugural Predators jerseys, but those are pretty good too. And yeah, Shea Weber, his long-term contract will live on for the next couple of years while it's sitting on Arizona's books or wherever it is nowadays.
We got Antero Niittymaki taking it easy before a game right there. We got Andre Kostitsyn with the Canadians. Now we finished strong. We got four definitely talkable people here. First, Nicholas Backstrom, hell of a career. Probably seeing the end of it.
Yeah, I got to think he's probably at the end of the rope here. Which, hey, shout out to him. He negotiated his own contract. He's got another year left on that one, so he's going to get his money, but not the way a franchise icon like him wants to go out.
If you were going to remake the Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell movie, The Other Guys, I'd like to see Backstrom and Ovechkin kind of play those roles. I think that would be fun.
Are you saying that solely because of the commercial that the two of them did together?
I am not aware of that commercial. Why?
Wait, you're not aware of the Backstrom Ovechkin commercial?
I remember Ovechkin did a commercial for Sports Center with I forget what the goalie was. He was a Russian goalie for them back then, where they were like, spying on ESPN or whatever. But yeah.
I don't know if you can actually pull it up on here. I'm going to send you the link for it.
Okay.
But go on with the next player while I'm doing it.
All right. So we finish here. We got Martin St. Louis pictured with the Lightning there. Now the Canadiens head coach. We'll see what happens with Montreal next year. One of the more polarizing figures in hockey history, Sean Avery, doing what he does best there, getting in the goalie's way and creating traffic there. And then finally,
I was going to say doing what he does best, not filming homeless people and harassing them.
That's what he does second best. And then we went from an all-time favorite Devil to probably an all-time least favorite Devil, Mr. Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously, it was a bitter way for him to leave the franchise, but he was so good during that cup run. And the fact that he had that back injury and he just sort of ran out of gas at the end. Once they got to the King series, he was a shell of himself. But I mean, there were very few players that were as fun as Kovalchuk who've worn a Devils uniform. So I'll say that.
One thing I will say in hindsight, it's funny how like the NHL cracked down on Lamoriello for like circumventing the cap with that initial Kovalchuk contract, but yet you got the Golden Knights and the Lightning somehow figuring out how to deal with the exposed to LTIR thing.
It's such nonsense. Yeah, but the Devils circumvented the cap with the Kovalchuk one, but every other contract of that ilk that that was agreed to and allowed to stand, just. If I know every hockey fan thinks the commissioner is against their team. That was the one for the Devils.
But that one actually had a little merit to it, I feel like. But
yeah, so
like it's the Devils.
Yeah, at least they got that first round pick back. Of course, they wasted that first round pick on John Quenneville, so we don't have to discuss that one any further or anything else pertaining to the 2014 NHL draft for the New Jersey Devils.
All right, so I got
I hate. I hate how Lou Lamoriello and David Conte drafted at the end of that run. Good Lord. Go back and look at some of those drafts.
So I got excited when I opened the pack because I saw a World Junior Tournament with a Finland logo on this 91-92 Upper Deck pack and thought, oh, maybe I got Teemu Selanne. No, I got, if I'm pronouncing this right, Juha Ilonen. So not the guy we're looking for out of the pack there. But yeah, just like that. But let's take a look at the look. Danton Cole, not going to talk about him too much, but that's the Winnipeg Jets. Let's go to another one here.
By the way, I sent you the link for that commercial in the chat. I don't know if you can pull it up here. I don't know if you can't, but it's certainly a good one.
All right, I will try and pull that up in a second here. Now we go to one of the best defensemen of all time and one of the best American-born players of all time.
See if I can find it on YouTube.
Phil Housley.
Yeah, one of the all-time great defensemen, offensive defensemen. We've talked about him before in the past. He's an all-time great.
Now we did get a young gun, but we got two young guns here, but not either of the ones we were really hoping for. We got Dan Lambert of the Nordiques and Rob Pearson of the Leafs right there. Let's see here on the checklist. We got a Russ Courtnall, Montreal Canadiens checklist there. I always loved that they did those like little art pieces for that back then. Like that was the checklist look. Like that was a good time. That was a good idea. They executed that well. But I mean, just look at the overall look of the 91-92 Upper Deck cards. There's Gary Roberts, another top player there. For its time, you had the 75th anniversary logo there with the team name and then the font. And just this was it for me back then. This really was. Let's see here. This pack sucked. I got to be honest. Mark Fitzpatrick from the Islanders, and then Doug Brown from the Devils. and then Sean Burr from the Red Wings. And then we close out with one good card at least, and we talked about him a little bit, I think. Brett Hull. Which I love that like multi-frame kind of like action shot there.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry. If it sounds like I haven't been paying attention, it's because I haven't been. I've been watching this commercial on the
That's fine. The pack honestly was did not merit paying attention except for that Brett Hull card to be yeah, that one was we'll call that one up. That's what that pack was right there. Or that's how bad that was, is that it froze.
Oh boy.
That's how bad it was. So
you can tell the show's live, folks.
It's there's no editing and post for this one anymore, that's for sure. Yeah, Brett Hull. What I love about Brett Hull, I don't know if I've said it on this show or if it was another one where the first year he could go for Team Canada at a pro level or at the higher level, like they were stacked. So he goes to Team USA. He develops into a lot closer to what his dad was, and they're like, "Oh, you can come back to Canada." He's like, "No, I'm going to stick with the United States." So there you go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You don't want me at my worst, so don't come calling for me at my best. So I respect that.
He was the first one to do that. Now, we struck out on one early '90s pack. What do you say we go cup chasing and maybe we wash that bad taste out of our mouth?
Yeah, let's do that.
We want the cup! We want the cup! We want the cup!
That's right. We're hunting the 1990 Pro Set 1 of 5,000 Stanley Cup hologram card on Rip N Riff. Our favorite music bed of all time right there.
100%.
All right.
Hopefully that doesn't get a DMCA takedown.
All right, so let's go. Let's see here. There's not going to be a hologram today, but at least we got some nice cards here. We start with one of the Maloney brothers. There's Don, and then we got Steve Thomas pictured with the Blackhawks there, who also had a good career with the Islanders. We'll stick with the Blackhawks and Greg Millen. We talked about this guy earlier on the upper deck checklist. There's Russ Courtnall. I like the look of these cards. I know like there's like a million boxes of them produced, but I still like the look of them.
Yeah, I like them.
Let's see.
Although if Shane Corson comes up, I'm going to leave.
he did not come up in this pack. So we are okay on that. We got the Calder Trophy card here. And that year it was Sergei Makarov, one of the Russian five. Then right after that in the pack, and we just talked about this guy, and I can't believe he won a Lady Bing in his career, Brett Hull.
Brett Hull won a Lady Bing?
That's the same thing. It says it right there, unless it's a misprint. 1990 winner.
How about that? Shout out to him.
I mean, the way he partied after the Blues won the cup. I mean, it's just his playing style. That doesn't strike me as a Lady Bing winner. Let's see here. We got Troy Loney from the Penguins. We got Steve Casper from the Kings. Kevin Lowe, the Oilers there, also was their GM for a while. Bernie Federko, St. Louis Blues legend, pictured with the Red Wings there at the end of his career. We got Chris Knuckles Nyland, played with the Bruins. I know he's a good spot on Spittin' Chicklets recently. Now, all-time Devil, one of their better players in franchises, John McClain.
Johnny Mac. Yeah, that's the one Devil's autograph puck that I haven't yet added to my collection. So we need to get that one for the shelf.
I mean, he's an Islanders assistant coach now, right? His son's playing on the Islanders there. So, maybe you go to a Islanders related show and you might be able to get that signed.
Oh, I'm sure I could get a John McClain puck on eBay very easily. It's just something I just have neglected to do. I've actually really slowed down on the puck collecting for reasons that we won't get into here.
Understood, and same for me on what I collect. And then here we go with Pat LaFontaine. Speaking of Islanders, also a Sabres legend. You know, we talked about guys that had really strong careers on two teams. There's an example of one with the Sabres and the Islanders, Pat LaFontaine.
Yeah, franchise legend for. Well, legend might be a little strong for the Islanders, but I would agree with you.
Yeah, I mean the Islanders. The problem is not that it's a problem, but the Islanders actually have a rich history. So, but with the Sabres,
all those '80s teams that he wasn't a part of, not the Cup teams, anyways. Right? He wasn't on any of those Cup teams.
Oh, LaFontaine? No, he was not on any of those Cup teams. Ron Francis. Speaking of top-notch centers from the early '90s, that All-Star game there for the Whalers. And then
And now an average GM.
yeah, well, average GM, which is better than not average. And then we got Wayne Gretzky, who was the point leader that year, and surprise, surprise, and took home the Art Ross. So good way to close the pack. You can never mind closing a pack with a little Wayne Gretzky there.
Yeah, I've heard of him. He's okay.
He does okay. I think they retired his number from the sport because he was so good. But
Kind of like what they'll do with me someday.
yes, your pack ripping number, whatever that might be. That is
Number 69, of course.
Of course. I'm a 58 guy, but that's my birthday. So we're all done with ripping packs here, but I mean, we close every episode with a starting lineup unboxing if Jared Moore can figure out if he can figure it out. If he doesn't,
If I can figure it out, if my big dumb brain can work and put sentences together and stuff like that.
Mine clearly wasn't there for a minute, but now we're back on track. So obviously, big surprise, it's a hockey player. Your 5 questions may begin.
All right. Is this player a Hockey Hall of Famer?
Yes.
All right, Hockey Hall of Famer. Is this player a former Stanley Cup champion?
He is, yes.
Is this player a forward?
Not a forward. So 2 questions to go.
Is this player a goaltender?
Yes.
Okay.
It's tough.
No, I mean, we're narrowing it down a little bit. I don't want to burn my one question now.
It's tough.
Did this player win his Stanley Cup with the Dallas Stars?
So if I answer that question, yes, I think you're probably going to get it. And the answer is yes, he did win it with the Dallas Stars.
So is it Eddie Belfour?
It is indeed Eddie Belfour. Good job there. Good. You are, man, you are on fire to start the year.
I didn't think you would throw Marty at me. I figured once we kind of narrowed it down to a goaltender, I was like, all right, it's probably either him or, I don't know, Tom Barrasso or one of the other goaltenders who just got in, Mike Vernon.
So it's funny that you go because there's a couple of hints there too. Now, I'll get to the starting lineup studio edits in a minute, but the 2 hockey ones are both goalies. Our guest next week, Bill Zimmerman, covers the Chicago Bears, big Blackhawks fan. Want to have a Blackhawk out on the stage for him next week. So,
I didn't even think about that one, but that makes a lot of sense.
So there you could see the shot stopper card. The way this one comes with 2 cards here. And then here's the plain Eddie Belfour card there. I mean, talk about iconic masks. He's got it. And what was great about that mask style with Eddie the Eagle, Sharks, Stars, didn't matter where he played. He just changed the primary color of it, and it worked.
Yeah, it's a badass look. That's when the goalie masks were really badass, like back in the 90s when they started to get there. You've had a few good ones, but I feel like for the most part that they've mellowed out a little bit with some of the goalie mask designs.
Well, you know what it is? It used to be like getting your mask painted like that was a big deal, took a little time, and then like nowadays, like these artists can whip up a goal, like, oh, you got traded, cool, I could get you a mask in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's almost lost its value in a sense.
That just happened with the Devils, with both Kakinen and Jake Allen. Like they both just got their new masks like within the last week or so.
Whereas if you go back to that era we're talking, where like you had all the cool, like the Marty mask, the Mike Richter mask, all that, when that came out, like that was probably like, yeah, I need at least a month to pull that off, you know? So, and also, your equipment lasted longer, and it was also part of your identity as a goalie, where now I feel like, Henrik Lundqvist would have had, I feel like there was one season where he had like 4 different masks. Because, I got to wear this one for the stadium series. Oh, I got to wear for the, you know what I mean? Like, so it just gets a little crazy.
That's an entire thing too. So,
and I get it. They auction it off for charity. It's good stuff. That's great. But, it's not like this. Now, there's, you can see the detail on the mask right there. See the eagle. Pretty good.
How about that?
Then we get it on him. Here we go. Just going to pop him there. The stick is loosely in his hand, but I mean, that's good detail. Good Blackhawks logo there. Love the black stick. They didn't just go with the plain, white or, color, but nonetheless, Eddie Belfort. He's going to be joining our starting lineup studio audience, which we forgot to introduce last week's as well. So let's start with this week's. Now we got Pedro Martinez and John Smolt, who Jared got Pedro right last week.
How did we forget that last week? I don't even remember.
I forgot how it happened, but I forgot.
Oh, maybe because I only got one of them.
Yeah, maybe that threw me off a little bit. But then we got Mike Richter there from 1994. Now I want to show off this Henrik. I'll show off the Henrik Lundqvist one in a minute because that was a custom one. But the previous week, Ken Griffey Jr. got out of the box, that 92 edition there. I did a shout out to Pacific Northwest Sports last week. We got Pavel Bure, Clyde Drexler, Cortez Kennedy, and Sharif Abdurrahim, pictured with the Vancouver Grizzlies there. But yeah, let me show you this Lundqvist one. This is a custom. So like obviously they didn't make them from Zara. This is there's a guy, Robbie J, High End Customs, who does these. I mean, look at the detail on the pad from that. This is the 2012 Winter Classic look when they played in Philadelphia. Let me see if I could get it under the camera there. Yeah, this was, I mean, you could see the detail with the pads. And speaking of the mask, he had a different one for that because of the different logo. See the Lundqvist on the back. I mean, this is top-notch work, and I already have my next 2 orders in with him. So,
oh yeah, send me that link after the show. I'll at least peruse and take a look at it. I'm not a huge starting lineup figure guy, but
well, that's the thing. He can make whatever you want. So if there's a guy you want to have a starting lineup, like, excuse me, like if he does it for like, oh, my kid plays, Little League football, Pop Warner football. I want to get like he can do anything and anything. So. So you let me know if you're interested.
Maybe I'll get my self-made.
See, you could absolutely do that. You just got to send a picture and he'll take care of it.
I just need. I want my own action figure. That's one of my dumb goals in life. I want an action figure.
Okay, like karate chop action?
No, I mean like Homer Simpson sitting on the couch drinking a beer action figure.
I like that. And you got to have the couch there too. Like it's got to be one whole like thing.
Yeah, just me being lazy, like me sitting at the computer all day, wearing the headset or whatever. He can do a custom. I'd actually have to think like detail wise what exactly I would want in this, but I want my own figure.
Okay, I mean he's got sports stuff, but I mean we can get you what you're looking for. We'll figure it out. We'll find it. But there we go. I mean that was a pretty strong, for National Hockey Card Day. I think we did a damn good job today.
That was pretty strong. Now, do you want to try to pull up this commercial or not?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Let me get into there.
The last link I sent you probably would work best. You probably don't have to sit through.
I can't copy and paste the link from that. Is the only thing.
All right, then you can watch it off there. But anyone watching knows what I'm referring to. The Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom commercial.
Can't believe I don't know. I mean, granted, I
feel like you would know this if you saw it because you'd be like, oh yeah, that was on like all the time during the playoffs, like 4 years ago.
And maybe I remember it, but yeah, I mean, we really did a good job this week. I'm very happy. I wasn't happy with that upper deck pack after I hyped it up and talked about how much I love that look, and then they give me that crap out of the pack.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back. We did a fine job.
We did a good job today, and I'm going to be doing some more hockey pack ripping in advance of National Hockey Card Day. We'll do a rapid rip tomorrow with a couple hockey packs. We'll do a French Friday edition rapid rip, so look out for those on the YouTube page, which we were unable to get to today. Due to issues on their end, but this will be available for watch later. But I think it's time we say so long till next week when we're gonna have Bill Zimmerman on. We'll talk some Bears draft, Caleb Williams. I know he's bringing some 1990 Fleer baseball, I think, so it'll be a good time there. But
oh boy,
yeah, he specifically wanted to do 1990, 91, either baseball or football, and he found his baseball. So nonetheless, can't wait for that. Going to be fun. We'll talk a little NFL draft as well. But for at Mr. Jared Moore, I am at Pucking Thoughts. I'll be back with you next Wednesday for another episode of Rip and Riff here on the Rip and Riff Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook network.